What's going on, everybody? I'm HoopsandHipHop. So in the brand new trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield that was revealed last week, we actually got the confirmation of two highly requested fan favorite features that are now 100% confirmed to be in these games, and that would be regional variants, i.e. Galarian forms, and new evolutions for old Pokemon. The thing that's so exciting about these two features being in these games is that no one really expected them to be here given Game Freak's track record, but one thing that absolutely no one expected to see, regardless of how hopeful they were regional variant exclusive evolutions for these older Pokemon. The idea behind this expansion of the regional variant mechanic is that these regional variant versions of these Pokemon actually evolve again past their normal final stage as a result of them adapting to their environment. And honestly, this is the perfect way to expand on this feature, because not only does it give us new Pokemon, not only does it expand on this feature and provide for a bunch of crazy awesome new possibilities, but it also gives us new evolutions for old Pokemon, which is something that fans have wanted to see return for literally 4 generations at this point. So with the onset of this brand new and fascinating idea, I have decided to go ahead and count down my top 5 Galarian Form evolutions for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, that might sound kind of niche, but to be honest with you, I've already covered Galarian forms and evolutions for old Pokemon, so this kind of just seemed like the next natural step. Anyways though, this is pretty straightforward because like I said, I am going to be covering the 5 Pokemon I believe should get a Galarian Form evolution in these games. Now, because I have covered similar topics in the recent past, I'm going to be covering other Pokemon that I have not talked about just for the sake of providing some new and interesting discussion for you guys. So don't be surprised if you see some Pokemon that you weren't expecting to see here, and if you would like to check out my other videos on the regular regional variants or evolutions, you can definitely do that as well. With all that being said though, we might as well go ahead and get right into it. So here are my top 5 Galarian Form evolutions for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Okay, so the first Pokemon I have coming in at number 5 on the list would be none other than an evolution for Floatzel. Now, Floatzel might seem like kind of an odd pick for this sort of thing, but it actually fits in really well. First off, it is a Sinnoh Pokemon, and we all know at this point that Sinnoh remakes are right around the corner, so it would make sense for the purpose of that game as well as teasing it in this game for them to feature Sinnoh Pokemon in this way, because it just makes all the sense in the world to feature in a hypothetical Diamond and Pearl remake Galar form evolutions of Sinnoh Pokemon in the Sinnoh remakes, just to make the Sinnoh remakes that much better. On top of that, Floatzel and Buizel seem very similar to Zigzagoon and Linoon in the respect that it didn't really seem like they would be Pokemon to get evolutions. Their 2-stage line seems perfectly fine just the way it is, and it didn't really seem like they would be the Pokemon that would be given that kind of love. But obviously in the case of Zigzagoon and Linoon, they were given that love, and I think the same can be applied to Buizel and Floatzel as well. Finally, and on a personal note, I always assumed for the longest time that Floatzel was a water dark type for some reason, and I think it has to do with the way it appears in the game and in its artwork. For whatever reason, I got the impression as a little kid that it was kind of a sinister, mischievous type of Pokemon, and I associated the dark type with that. So I think this could actually fit really well in a Floatzel evolution, where maybe it embraces that mischievous mentality and becomes part dark type. Or if that's too similar to Zigzagoon and Linoon, it could get literally any other type, or literally just stay water type and get a cool evolution. There are so many possibilities, and I think this family of Pokemon is a really good fit for it, so I would definitely like to see it in Sword and Shield. Next up on the list at number 4 is none other than Corsola, and the reason why I have picked Corsola specifically is a direct response to what occurred to it in Generation 7. As I'm sure you all know, in Generation 7, which was the generation where the regional variant mechanic was introduced, we were introduced to a Pokemon known as Mareanie, who is kind of a counterpart to Corsola in the sense that it literally eats Corsola and preys upon them for its food. This gave Corsola some attention in literally the worst way possible, and frankly, it's kind of sad. So what if in Generation 8 we actually gave it some positive attention and some actual love with a Galarian form evolution? The concept behind this, for one, could be that since Marini is not native to the Galar region, Corsola are able to flourish more naturally, and because they're able to flourish more naturally, this has allowed them to evolve further into a bigger, more stronger, more fortified form that they can protect themselves with. I think the fact that this whole backstory was introduced at the same time and in the same generation that regional variants were introduced makes it a good starting point for explaining its potential regional variant in Generation 8. And I think aside from that as well, Corsola being a classic vintage Generation 2 Pokemon who hasn't really seen a lot of love and doesn't even evolve at all in the first place is a perfect candidate to get this kind of treatment, and I think it would be great to see in these games. Up next at number 3, we're actually going to go from the Johto region to the Hoenn region and take a look at another classic yet unevolved Pokemon, and that would be Torkoal. Now, to be honest with you, I haven't really met a whole lot of people that actively dislike Torkoal, because similar to Corsola, this is just a classic and really good Pokemon. It has a great design in being a fire-type tortoise. It also had a great personality in the anime, making it a great character there, but despite the fact that it's such a great Pokemon, it really hasn't seen any love since its debut in Generation 3. So because of that, I think Torkoal would be the perfect candidate for not only a Galarian form, but also a Galarian form evolution. I think Torkoal in and of itself is just a Pokemon that fits perfectly within the Galar region, but obviously you could have it quote-unquote adapt to this region in a number of different ways. It could become a more typical tortoise, becoming a water type, it could become a rock type, it could become a steel type. You could literally do anything with it, and giving it an evolution and just showing that much more love to it and just taking it one step further in that way, I think would be fantastic, and you could even tie this into the anime as well, because we know that Ash is going to be going to Galar sooner or later, and since he caught a Torkoal in Hoenn, he could bring it back and maybe have it battle some Galarian Torkoal or its evolution, and it could just make a cameo appearance in that way. I think that would be a really cool thing to do, and I would love to see it in Sword and Shield. Coming in at the runner-up spot is a Pokemon that I've actually grown to like more and more over the years that I don't think gets as much love as it deserves, and that would be the Univin Dragon-type Druddigon. Now, Druddigon has always been seen as one of the ugliest and worst dragon types of all time, but as time has gone on, even though I originally had similar thoughts when I was first introduced to Druddigon, I've actually warmed up to it to the point where I think it's a really cool looking, really solid dragon type. And once again, much like other Pokemon on this list, it's another one that doesn't evolve. So given this fact, and given the fact that it's just got the short end of the stick in terms of fan favoritism, I think it would be really cool for it to see a really freaking awesome Galarian form evolution in Sword and Shield that completely flipped everyone's opinion about it and finally gave it the love that it so desperately deserves. I think this would be a really good fit for a couple of different reasons. Number one, Druddigon is a dragon type, and as a dragon type, it makes all of the sense in the world for it to be in the Galar region, because Galar is based on the UK, and many stories about dragons originate in the UK. It's kind of like the hub for dragons, if you will. So it makes a lot of sense for it to be there because of that, and obviously being a dragon type naturally, it might not stay that way for a Galarian form, but the possibilities are endless at the same time, and I think regardless of whether they gave it a brand new type or retained the dragon type in some way, it would still be absolutely worth doing because Druddigon is just a Pokemon who needs some love. I also think it would be just really cool to see some kind of interaction between the Galar and Unova regions, given the fact that these two regions are based on the UK and the US respectively, which obviously have a very distinct, significant, and historical relationship with one another, and I think that would be cool to be reflected in the Pokemon world in some way, shape, or form, and maybe that's in the form of bringing Unova Pokemon over to Galar with Galarian form evolutions. And at the number 1 spot, the Pokemon that I think would be amazing to see get a Galarian form evolution, probably above all else, would be none other than Arcanine. Now, this idea stems from a couple of different reasons. Number 1, during the Sun and Moon pre-release hype period after Alola forms had been confirmed, there was a rumor about a number of different Alola form Pokemon that were going to make their debut at some point before the game's release, and one of those Pokemon that was rumored was a Water-type Growlithe and Arcanine. Now, the idea of a Water-type Arcanine at the time instantly got everyone super excited, and it was one of those rumored Alola forms that basically everyone wanted to see above all else. However, it obviously didn't happen, and even though it seems like that rumor was proven fake, how cool would it be to actually have it come to fruition in Generation 8 and finally get the Water-type Arcanine that literally everyone wanted? And now that we have the idea of regional variant evolutions, why not just give it the whole shebang and not only give it a Galarian form, but a Galarian form evolution? Arcanine is one of those classic Generation 1 Pokemon that if you were to give an evolution to, would definitely be a huge deal, and it would definitely get a lot of people talking, both hardcore fans and casual fans alike, which obviously can only be good for your game. And while it might not necessarily seem that Arcanine needs an evolution per se, there are plenty of other Pokemon, specifically in Generation 1, that didn't necessarily need an evolution that got one in the form of like Rhydon, Electabuzz, Magmortar, etc. So if it can happen to those Pokemon, I think it's just as likely that it can happen to Arcanine. And there we have it, everybody. Now, honestly, one of the things I am most excited for about this feature is the fact that it can happen to literally any Pokemon. With Alola forms, it was restricted to Kanto Pokemon, obviously, but with the introduction of Galarian Zigzagoon and Linoon, this has shown that it can happen to literally any Pokemon out there, making the possibilities endless, and that's why I think it's so exciting, and I really hope we get at least a couple of these on this list in the actual game. If you guys enjoyed the video though, be sure to leave a like and let me know down in the comments below which Pokemon you would like to see get a Galarian form evolution. And if you are new to the channel as well, be sure to subscribe for new Pokemon content all the time. You can also support me further by checking me out on Spotify and giving some of my Pokemon remixes a listen there, because that directly supports the production of videos here and is just greatly appreciated in general. With all that being said though, I will be back on Thursday for another video, so be sure to hit that notification bell so you can know when it goes live. And with all that being said, I hope you know I love you guys very much, and until the next one, I will smell you guys later.